And then when you're done, literally just hit then straight. Yeah. But you see, I need to have the IT guy come back in because it's not slick because it's not static.
Hi, Kelly.
It's a settings thing, and I don't know how to fix it.
Is it?
So, but like I said, yeah.
I'll go this way.
A little bit more. A little bit more. Stop right there. Oh, turn it back the other way a little bit. Keep going. Because I don't want to be in it. A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, good.
It does. It flipped back a little bit.
I'm good. How are you? Oh, I hope. Yeah. Depends on the day.
Oh, yeah. Have you started?
I talked to the video really.
Hopefully, late spring. I'd like to get out of it
Well, I know. I'll tell you what, nobody's gonna sit here. I won't buy it. All right.
Really? That's crazy.
Somebody, I did a test. I
So, where was it?
She's my favorite.
Sleeper, I think.
Yeah, I sit out there for the contractor and all that shit. And I am tired. That's all you have. And
We're already live.
2 hours.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I don't keep track of those.
Looked in all these drawers, I looked everywhere. We finally got up on the chair and he's turned it on.
Well, I might do a real one. So which groups do I have to go on?
That's why I'm smelling that. Chair turned it on. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm ready to do that. I do Here. Oh, you were in there.
Yes.
Well, what's working?
Turning on and off. It seems like it's a hack. Not me. Sorry. I'm gonna go as soon as I get this over. Yeah, why don't you do that? I'll just key you like until you go. Good evening. We're gonna go ahead and get started this evening. First of all, I'd like to do some introductions. My name is John Deary. I'm with BLN Aegis Group. We were contracted with the county to update the old comprehensive plan. We've been working on this since last summer. Went through some edits and had a steering committee. But first of all, I'd like to try to get through the list of people who are here tonight. We have Commissioner Tim Shoemaker, Commissioner Brenda Hardy, Commissioner Andrew Hall. I'd like to thank the mayor for having us this evening as host. His clerk treasurer is also here. We'd like to welcome her. Council members, I noticed Dudley Cruy is in the audience. Jeff Beshero is trying to hide in the back there. Dale White. We also have Tom Bowie's in the back. I don't have my glasses. Yep, Denise Crowder. I've got her name down. Sorry about that. We have Rod Bannon with Economic Development. His assistant, Kim Kue, with who works for Rod with the Economic Development folks. And Colleen Chambers.
Wrong person.
Oh,
I was Kelly Clarkson last night.
actually mixed up with Colleen and I
Remember I said I will
apologize.
take that all day long.
Kelly Clarkson, I'm sorry.
Carlson.
Carlson. And I'm not even under stress tonight.
Hey, I'm not getting on you. I'm okay
If
with
I
it.
missed anybody, I apologize. Last night I left in a hurry and forgot my glasses, so I've been struggling with that. Also, Lori Jordan was on the steering committee. She helped out quite a bit, a lot of input. Dale was on the steering committee. Jeff was a key member of that as well. And if I missed any of the other ones, I apologize. Rod was on the steering committee. I apologize for that. I think I got everybody. Key members of that. A lot of input from those 4 folks individually. So we wouldn't have gotten this done and gotten everything updated and got all the information compiled without assistance from 4 of those people. The purpose of the update, well, just to kind of give you an overview, we'll talk about the purpose, why we're here, what we're doing, what this is for. In that, we'll talk a little bit about the history of the county. That's a part of the comp plan. Overview, give you an overview of the revised plan and some of the data. Key information and points of the plan. There's some, I believe, key demographic information, population data in the county that affects both economic data and where the county goes from here. School data is also included, and we'll kind of run through that. Talk about the goals and objectives that we've developed to date that are in the draft plan. One thing I would like to say when it comes to mind, this is not final. We're still in development of a plan prior to final adoption. So we're here tonight to talk about it, get more ideas, get feedback and input. That would be in the next step. Once we have the draft plan completed, it would go through the approval process, start through planning commission and work its way through the county government offices. After that, we're open for discussion. We can go back and forth with questions, comments. That seemed to work a little bit last night as we go. I mean, if you have a comment, as long as it doesn't take too long, we can address that in the timeline of the presentation. If it's kind of a difficult question or sequential, I might ask, and don't mean anything by it, I might just ask to wait until after the meeting so we could do the one-on-one and maybe address specific issues. Like somebody last night had a lot of questions about data, so we walked through that afterwards. Or anything very specific that might take a lot of time. I want to get through this so we can get through the discussion and keep it relatively short and then maybe have a back and forth afterwards. So for open ideas, but that's kind of the format, relatively informal. The purpose of the update and well, just to tell you, there are handouts, so there are copies of the plan, this presentation up front, so you can feel free to take those with. There are also copies of the presentation and a copy of the draft plan in PDF on the county's website in the document center. I checked those this morning. They kind of pop up right at the beginning of the document center. So if you go online and want your own PDF, you want to look at it, feel free to go on and download or take them as you wish and for your own use. The last update of the previous plan, or the last update, the previous plan was completed in 2007. The normal requirement for comprehensive plans is to be updated once every 10 years. There's a lot that's happened since 2007. There's been 2 significant impacts to the United States economy during that time frame, which affects income data, housing data. It also can affect population data, who lives where, who moves where, who comes from where else. So there's a lot of information to compile. There was a lot of information to compile and update. There's also 2 or 3 communities that never had sewer and water systems before in the county. Now are sewer and water. So there was a lot of information to just kind of reinvestigate, reopen, and kind of move forward from the last plan. One of the big issues, and I didn't talk about this last night, and I apologize, Tim brought it up, and I made a mental note and a physical note. One of the biggest assets to having an updated comprehensive plan, it makes you eligible for a variety of state and federal grants and grant opportunities for various resources, recreational, economic development, and other kinds of grant opportunities. So that's a very important aspect of this plan, getting it up to date. So local agencies within the county will be eligible for grants. It does require periodic updating. It's recommended you evaluate it every 5 years, but no update once every 10. So we're a little bit out of that cycle, but getting caught up. We addressed, one thing that needs to be addressed as opposed to the last comp plan. County has a very good website. Technology's changed a lot in the last 16 years. it has an impact on the economy. So we kind of found that technology and housing played a bigger role in this update, just housing and population data. Updating outdated information, population and demographic data was in dire need of update. Housing data was also an important factor in updates because there's been changes in the median annual income per household over the time period since the last comp plan was done. There's also been a significant rise and change in median home value. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit when we get further back into the plan. Also changes in the economy, widespread use of the internet is more prevalent than it was back in 2006, 2007. We've moved forward with better technology such as broadband, other sources of internet instead of the old dial-up. It was more often common than not back in 2007 when the old plan was prepared. There are a lot of rural areas now getting internet that didn't have it before. So there's been a lot of changes in the way people communicate, the way people work, and the way kids are taught at school. My wife's a teacher, and there's a lot of e-learning days now, so internet availability can be important to a lot of families as a resource for their kids, especially for educational purposes. This plan will not only will it provide grant application opportunities for the county, it'll help assist economic development efforts in a broad manner. Economic development can peel off from the plan and just kind of follow maybe some of the elements in it in pursuit of economic development activities for the county. Public services also are affected by this. As a part of any comprehensive plan, it calls for some type of maybe public infrastructure, capital improvement plan, identify capital needs in the county that you might foresee in the next 10 years, or maybe even after the next comp plan is completed, the time frame 10 to 15 year capital improvement plan, identify capital projects that might be needed within the county. So that was an important factor in this as well. And we'll talk about some of the results that we received from comments in the initial development stages of the plan. And then we'll talk about goals and objectives for how to manage growth, or how do you work with growth to continue to grow, or manage new growth that wants to come in. Purpose of planning and zoning. The primary focus of a comprehensive plan is purpose of planning and zoning throughout the county is to ensure roadway systems are carefully planned. Roads are actually safe and can manage growth and can handle the traffic that not only it presently needs, but any growth in traffic or the transportation system that's needed when growth occurs in an individual county. It'll also kind of provide as a map or a guide that the county only grows with adequate public right-of-way, utilities, health, educational, recreation facilities to grow along with it. Healthy community, when it grows, all those things grow along with it. As amenities, attractiveness to new people, amenities for people who live here as well, require to be included as part of the plan. Needs of industry and business should also be recognized for future growth, not only future growth, but business retention opportunities as well, but yet balanced with the needs of the individual county offices and county citizens. Residential areas provide helpful surroundings for family life and recreational enjoyment opportunities. It also states that the growth of Fountain County is commensurate with and promotive of efficient and economical use of public funds where public funds participate. Sorry, my clicker's not working, so. Hannah Murray, she works with me in my office. She's note taker and head slide clicker tonight. Much more valuable than that. But, elements of comprehensive plan. This plan we updated from the old, so we kept the old same format. We have an executive summary, general background, typically population data, demographic data, school data, School data was particularly, I don't know, interesting to see how that's changed over the last 15 to 20 years in the county. Land use is a component, although not maybe a focused component of this. We'll talk a little bit about that. Economic development, which is a focused item, is a part of the plan. Discuss a little bit about housing as it relates to median income, median family income, and median home value. Talk about natural resources. That was kind of an important point with a few of the stakeholders that we had met with early on, and we'll talk about that. There's a whole slide dedicated toward preservation, protection, and natural resources, using them as a recreational asset as well. Parks and recreation, which is kind of intertwined with natural resources. And then there's a section on infrastructure in the plan, although it just kind of glosses over communities, that have sanitary and water sewer service available, and other infrastructure within the county, like airports, transportation systems, and things like that. County background data: 53rd county, established in Indiana, established December 30th, 1825. Although I believe the charter happened right after the first of the year, the following year. 396 square miles, just shy of that. Current population 16,574 according to local data. One thing I want to point out about the plan: all this data and information is taken directly from it. So if you go online, the actual draft plan has links to where all this data is from. So you can click on that and it'll just take you to where data was retrieved. Some of the population data varies a little bit, slightly, maybe 20, 30, depending on what year and where it was taken, but it's essentially, that's the most correct number, or most accurate number that we could find across several resources. County was named after James Fontaine, who was killed in the Battle of who was killed in Fort Wayne in the Battle of Maumee, which was Fallen Timbers in 1790. And it's about the population density of the county is about 49 people per square mile. That jumps in certain townships where the larger towns are. Covington, Attica, Petersburg, population densities are higher because you straight out have more people in each one of those townships. Fountain County Office and the Services. It describes each branch of the government, executive, judicial, legislative, as well as all the administrative offices. The Commissioners act as the executive branch. Fountain County Council is the legislative branch. Fountain County Courts, judicial branch. Then there are administrative offices, predominantly in the courthouse. I'm not sure about the coroner's office. Courthouse, not courthouse.
I'm sorry, what?
Is the coroner's office in the courthouse or outside the courthouse?
He doesn't really have an
Doesn't really have one.
No.
All right, well, the assessor's office, treasurer, auditor, prosecutor, clerk, recorder, all in and around the courthouse. Public safety, there is a sheriff's office, sheriff department, a jail. There's an emergency management agency or bureau in the county, and 911 communications is shared with Warren County. Public service department, there is a county ambulance service, community corrections office, veterans affairs, Department of Health, planning and zoning department, county highway, county probation, and county extension office for agricultural extension. Pretty typical for a county this size, the services you have and the services that are offered. Population data, there was a slight increase from 1970 to 1980, but over the last 4 years, there's an average increase or decrease of about 13% population in the county. So since 1980, there's been a relatively steady decline. Since 2000 to 2020, it leveled out a little bit in 1990, but on average, 13% of the population decreased from 1980. Age distribution in the county, percent distribution in the county, the largest segment of population is older adults, 45 to 64, represent just under 28% of the population. If you add seniors, 65 and older, just under 50% of the population is 45 and over in the county. Preschool age 0 to 4 is just under 6%. School age 16%, and then college age 7.6%. Young adults represent just under 23%. The median age in the county is 43 years old. That's 50th percentile. The median age in the state slightly older than the median age of the state, which is 38.1. Population data by township. I spoke to this earlier. Van Buren, Troy, and Logan, the three largest communities in the county, located in each one of those townships. Kane County would be the fourth, Mill Creek Township would be the third or fourth most populated township in the county. But relatively speaking, population in the county is roughly just under 50% in cities and towns, slightly over 50% within the county. So it is mostly a rural community. Township population data. I think the biggest takeaway out of this, the only township, Troy Township, saw a percent increase in population, 0.5% from the 2010 census. All other townships saw some kind of decrease, which is more consistent with the trend line in the county over those last 10 years between census. The largest single decrease in population was Davis Township. That there weren't a lot of people in that township to begin with, but there was just under an 18% decrease in residents in Davis Township. Population summary in cities and towns. Attica, the largest city in the county, 19.3% of the county population, followed by Covington, the county seat, and then Petersburg after that. Sorry, I should have sorted those in order. Percent of the county in cities is 57%. Sorry, I had that backwards. So roughly 57% of the county lives in a city or town as opposed to the county. So 43% of the population in the county is rural. School enrollment data for the county. There are roughly 2,488 students reported in the county, 22-23 school year. Of those, vast majority, 2,419 students are enrolled in public schools. Adults, 25 and plus, 11,606 people. There are roughly 88.99 or 89% of the people in the county have a high school diploma or higher, and about just under 14% people have a BA or some type of higher degree post high school. School data, enrollment, they're sorted by columns: Attica, Covington, Southeast Fountain. So the school data, if you click on it from the comp plan, the reference, it's a little bit cumbersome. The school information is difficult to upload, and it kind of takes a while. It's kind of a slow process. This school data, I believe, was from 21, 22. They haven't updated the most current data yet. This was the most current resource we could get. We tried to approach the schools about getting it updated, and it was a little bit inconsistent, so we just went with what we had. This data is referenced in the plan. Attica has total enrollment K through 12 is about 613 kids. Covington's at 827. Southeast Fountain's about 1,024 enrollment. Attica economically disadvantaged is about just under 54% of the kids. Covington's are about 34%, and Southeast Fountain is just under 49%.
How's that determined?
That's actually determined by school education. They send the school information. School reports that directly to the Department of Education and keeps it. So that is directly through the school administration. Following information, I included this because I thought it was rather striking. Attica Consolidated School Corporation, since the last plan, is down about 43% student body. That does exceed the decline that we've seen in population data, so that's quite a bit higher than the regular population decrease during that same time frame. Southeastern Fountain School Corporation is down about 25% since 2006, the last comp plan. and the Covington Community School Corporation's down just a little tad over 10% since the last comp plan. So school enrollment is down across the county for public schools. Workforce, talk a little bit about that because that's an important aspect of the comprehensive plan and economic development. Number of people who live in Fountain County work, the implied resident labor force, about 11,376 people. Number of people who live and work in the county is just over 8,000 people. And then the number of people, total number of people who work in Fountain County is about 9,000. So that's about 1,500 imports. 100 people come in to Fountain County to work every day. Total resident workforce, it's 0.2% of the state, but there's good news in this data. The annual unemployment rate for last year was 2.8%. We got slightly behind in getting the plan done, which was kind of a good thing because all the data updated like right at the first of the year, so everything went fresh. So everything's like brand new right out of the can. August 2023, when we started the plan, it was 3.4%. It's dropped a whole percent since August. This 2023, the latest number, 2.4% unemployment in the county. So that's pretty good data, relatively good employment rate or unemployment rate. Per capita personal income in 2002, it hasn't been reported for 2003 yet, was per personal income was about $50,730 a person. Median household income, which is if there's a two-income family household, it's total family income divided by number of households, was at $55,195 a year. The poverty rate's about 10.6%. Poverty rate for children under 18 is a little bit higher than that, 15%. Food stamp recipients, 1,226. That's only 0.2% in the state of Indiana. 1,179 kids get free and reduced lunch through the school district, individual school districts. Median household income, year 2000 to 2023. There's been a steady increase or rise, and you can see median income in 2000 as part of the 2020 census or 2000 census was about $38,119 a household. That's increased in 2020 with a pretty good last 2 to 3 years. The median household income in 2023 is projected to be $60,559. So that continues to rise, and it's a pretty big little uptick in the last 3 years from what it was the last census. Median home value in Fountain County has increased significantly since 2010, 2015. It kind of flatlined in between 2000 and 2010, in between those census. A lot of that probably had to do with the economic downturn in 2008. But the recovery from 2010 to 2015 is kind of consistent with just about any people data that you see that's available in any type of census data. It also reflects kind of an uptick in driving data too during that period, because you follow annual miles driven. And with this trend line, it kind of follows about the same pattern during that time frame. There was a dip from 2008 to 2012 in driving, and both median household income and driving kind of took back off again after 2010 and started an upturn. So, can you go back real quick?
Sorry.
It's all right. Current median home value in Fountain County is up to $123,400. So you can hit the next. This graph is ratio of median home value to median household income. So it's strictly median home value divided by median household income. You kind of see there was a decline from 2000 to 2010 because of the economic downturn, but since it's jumped back up and it's recovered plus from 2020 to 2023, right now it's about, the median home value is about 2 times what the average person's median household income is. So that's kind of up into a level that's starting to get a little bit high for especially younger folks to manage. So that's kind of an important aspect that we'll kind of talk about in a little bit. with some of the other housing data that we have. Housing units by township, not surprisingly, it follows, population in the county. The three largest townships that have the three largest cities and towns have the most housing units. So there's really no surprise there. It's just an update of data from what we had previously had in the last comp plan. New private housing structures authorized by building permits for Fountain County. I forgot to tell you, this is the second meeting. We had a meeting in Petersburg last night. This one caused kind of a ruckus, and I'm still trying to figure out why there was an issue with it. It's just simply building permits in the county tracked by year from 2008 through 2020. This is building data assembled by St. Louis Fed. I cross-checked that with census data, and it is accurate, the tracking. There was a spike in building with steady, I guess, with a little blip in 2017, but from 2015 to 2021, there was a pretty significant rise in building permits, and then kind of you can't call it a trend because it's a single data point. There was a drop off from 2021 to 2022. Reason for that, right now, anybody's guess is as good as mine. Maybe it's returning back to the norm prior to the boom years. I can't explain that, but that's, tracking building permits, that's what we get. Homeownership and rentals, total housing units in 2022 was just under 7,800 or 7,900. We're at 7,896. Total housing units in, that was 2020 was 7,795. So there's been a little bit of growth in housing units since then. Owner occupied represents 5/8 of that, 5,062 owner occupied houses in the county. The median value is just, again, that's $123,400. Renter occupied units comprise 1,758 units of the 7,896 total units, and median rent was identified to be $554 a month for 2022. Next. Housing. After we had the initial kickoff meeting, Fountain County participated in the Greater Lafayette Ready Region Housing Study. That's 6 counties around in the Lafayette region, including Tippecanoe County. Correct me if I'm wrong, see if I'm going to get them. Carroll County, White County, Tippecanoe County, Benton, Warren, and Fountain County all participated in that study, 6 total. The purpose of that was to focus on attractive and affordable housing, home ownership, building, affordability. The goals were, it was a group of not only local government agencies, but people who have vested interest in the industry, such as builders, developers, home builders, builders association, economic development people. So it was a pretty large group of people. If I miss anything, I'm going to give Rod some time here at the end. He can clean it up. Anything I misspoke or say anything, but the goals of that plan were to find innovative ways for lot development, the way it's financed. Land prices are rising, so they're looking for innovative ways to figure out how to sell more building lots and build more houses. Add housing variety across all locations. That's kind of a struggle across Indiana. Housing varieties for, my mom just purchased a smaller home. Smaller homes for older people, new housing, affordable housing for young people, young married couples, young professionals, things like that. What styles, what types do they like, what best fits demographics. Preserve naturally occurring affordable housing. That means take care of regular houses, aging houses, which we'll kind of talk about that, how it affects Fountain County residents in Fountain County a little bit here in a few slides. Foster housing, innovation to lower costs. Look at there's been a rise in construction materials across the state the last several years. There are various economic factors associated with that. The new gas tax has affected availability and cost of construction materials because the roadway industry is going like crazy here in the state. That leads sometimes to shortages in stone, stone and aggregate for concrete, for backfilling trenches, installing infrastructure. So they've seen rising costs for infrastructure costs, and they're looking at innovative ways maybe to develop housing additions to save costs and lower building costs for new homes. The key point, I'm going to just read this because I took it right out of the plan. Attainable housing, any housing that is not financially burdensome to a household in a specific income range. Financially burdensome could be housing expenses that exceed 30% of household income. However, it could also include situations where a household has high daycare costs, student debts, or other costs that limit income on available to spend on housing. Housing terms in terms of subsidized by federal programs could also be included in that definition. That's just been taken directly out of that housing study. I know another issue was affordable apartment complexes for young professionals in Lafayette. The price of apartment complexes in Lafayette's skyrocketing because of the development that's going on there, and there's been an increase in demand and cost for student housing in Lafayette too. So with respect to apartments and affordable rent, from that perspective, I think that was part of the focus that they also discussed. Correct? Incorrect?
Absolutely, you got it. Thank you.
Next slide. Commuting patterns. This is kind of interesting. Shows the commuting patterns, number of people in 2020 versus, it's actually, from 2020, this is the latest data. People who come into the county to work every day, 286 come from Illinois, 494 come from Warren County to work in the county every day. The biggest exporter of jobs from Fountain County is Tippecanoe and Tippecanoe County. I witnessed that today. There was a big rush on 25 and 28 out of Lafayette. It was hard to get the gap to be able to turn on 28, 25 to get head into Attica today. Traffic was so heavy. So there's a big caravan of people hauling it out of Lafayette today trying to get home from work. The table at the bottom, the 2007 comprehensive plan, there's been a decline in the number of commuters in and out of the county, which is interesting. Rod and I kind of bandied this back and forth. There's about 600, just under 600 people less in the Fountain County over the last 13 years, and there's about 1,200 people less. About 1,200 less people that commute out of the county in the last 13 years. We think that has to do with retirements, decline in population, the aging population, no longer commutes, but also internet availability. There's some people who now work from home and don't work, that don't need to commute. So those commuting patterns have lessened over the last 13 years, which was kind of surprising to me, at least, whenever we pulled that data. The next one. Summary of county roads. Just under 50% of the roads in the county are paved. 52 miles, just under 52 miles of chip and seal, 236 miles of asphalt roads, and then just over 50% of the roads are gravel in the county at 327 miles worth of gravel roads in the county. 141 miles of state road. That includes 17 miles of interstate, 2 interchanges, and all the U.S. and state routes that north, south, east, and west cut through the county. Public service and utilities, sewer and water utilities, Covington, Attica, Hillsborough, and Kingman all have their own sewer and wastewater utilities. I don't know if that's coming up or not, but since that struck me, most of the growth in the county is expected to occur around those areas because they have available sewer and water utilities and the capacity to serve new development. The demand, business comes in, the demand for sewer and water can be important for manufacturing or, even large scale housing. Tend to go toward cities and towns because they have sewer and water capacity, bigger subdivisions. Approximately 4,000 people have septic tanks in the county. That's a little bit off from the number of residential housing units that are in the county, so there may be some legitimate issues there that account for the discrepancy. Approximately 2,400 well records within the county. Same, there may just be some cross permitting issues associated with people who have wells that are on wells that maybe haven't registered them. Electric is widely available. Gas, same. A lot of the rural people are on their own propane. Internet and broadband is available, especially around urban areas of the county, but there's an identified need in the east central of the county that's a little bit more rural to possibly extend or figure out a way to get broadband to those rural communities. Two needs that were identified just kind of throughout the process. Town hall's nice. I like the technology you have in here. It's kind of an upgrade over, what we had last night. Because I had to bring my own stuff, but it's always nice to have technology. Courthouse technology, space, room, office spaces, that's kind of been identified as a need. When technology advances, you have a variety of different needs. So that can change the way you use building use, building needs. So upgrading courthouse facilities was identified as a potential need as a part of county infrastructure. Also, one of the bigger needs identified, the county highway department. There's some issues with that facility out there that were identified that were a little bit concerning to the members that, had discussed that. So it's heavily outdated, it's old, and consideration of improvement of that facility as well was kind of discussed as, a part of improvement of public infrastructure of the county. So I would say county infrastructure wise, the focus on improvements kind of tended toward courthouse and highway facility, just in a discussion. This one surprised me a little bit, in a good way. Several of the stakeholders and people that were involved identified a desire and need to protect natural resources of the county, protect floodway and floodplain, to protect well-being and public and personal property, which is important. Floods, flood damage can, wreak havoc on families and, county people who want to use roads that are chronically flooded. But protection and care of floodway and floodplain is important, also for insurance reasons. Protect local drinking water aquifers. 2 aquifers in the county that were identified that as a resource that some consideration to protection were expressed and given during various discussions. And then biggest public access or public asset, I guess, protect nature and quality and character of the Wabash River. It is a tremendous asset to have. It's really the north and west county border, and there's a lot of opportunities there for like activities, natural asset, not only for local people, but maybe people who are in the area who are using other state parks come visit, for recreational purposes if the river's activated as some type of recreational facility. Next. Parks and Recreation, there's a county park board. It's, from what I gather, it's relatively newer. That's kind of an asset because some of these tasks may be able to be assigned to county park board. Again, Wabash River came up. We talked about public access points and boat launches. I know there's 2, one in the county and then one upstream, maybe near Williamsport. There was a third potential talked about in the southern part of the county. I just thought of this, but there are grants available for boat launches and through DNR for, public access points. So having a plan can maybe assist with that if that option moves forward. I actually built 2 of those and we've never talked about that. But anyway, nature preserves and land trust. Lori was a big help with all the natural resource information. Since I recognized you, You have to pronounce that.
Niches.
So it's public land trust. There are 4 properties in public land trust that are available to public access and public recreational activities. Portland Arch Nature Preserve is also a hidden gem in the county, potentially connecting that and linking that with other areas of the county. So not only residents can get there by maybe bike or walk or park and walk access was pretty important. Trails, the Covington Circle Trail connectivity and extension maybe outside of the county, connected or outside of the city, in county areas, connecting that to other areas to extend recreational opportunities to and from the river and around Covington. And then Ravine Park and the public art wall in Attica were also mentioned as in access and the potential opportunity for, not only I don't mean development in the sense of expansion or change, but maybe opening up opportunities for recreational activities for people outside of Fountain County to come visit, experience the town, experience the public art. My hometown did something similar, and it draws people in. There's an annual festival, and it's the sculptural walk in Decatur is very popular. This is something like that. Next slide. Just a land summary. There are 497 farms in Fountain County with an average size of 427 acres. 212,000 acres are in farms. 91.7% of total acreage in the county is either farm, pasture lands, or woodlands. So it's an agricultural county, rural county, and part of the plan is to, we'll see in some of the goals, is to protect that rural character as well. So identify issues and needs, goals and objectives. I mean, obviously the population decline is an issue. How to address that, will be maybe sub-elements, goals and objectives of the plan. Housing, age of housing, the average age of homes in the county is a relative concern compared to the new housing going in somewhere else. So the housing stock in the county is oldish. Income versus housing costs, I originally, a few slides ago, talked about that. That was a little bit of concern. And then the effects of income and housing costs for young couples who buy homes on cost of living, such as childcare, that was expressed as a concern. Effects on new technology and land use, broadband, extending broadband service to those extremely rural areas of the county that doesn't have such access right now. Retention of existing business, and I'm going to turn it over to Rod just after this slide, let him talk a little bit. Retention of existing business and creation of business opportunities for new small business is important, and increase in recreational opportunities in the county, primarily trails and a trail network throughout the county. And then the final 2, aging county infrastructure and capital improvement plan. Maybe consider courthouse upgrades or improvements, and some type of improvement to the county highway garage to improve that facility.
Nope. Stuck up on you.
No, you're
Hey,
fine.
real quick before you go further, I got the solar ordinance clipboard. Has anybody not had a chance to look at this or anything? Okay, I'll give it to you.
Thank you.
For the lack of nobody else.
All right. Thank you. I think what I can add here, and we'd love your,
Hey, Ron,
yes.
hang on, there was a question back there.
Okay.
I have one quick question for him.
Yes.
A few slides back, slide 30 that you had, you said that you're going, one of the things that you're wanting to look at in the natural resources was to protect the nature quality and character of the Wabash River. What is this going to do to help stop the leak project?
So, I'm not gonna lie, that was discussed as a part of this. This plan is just to establish goals and objectives. Where you go from here, that establishes as a goal. Where you go from here is a sub part of this plan. So any individual mechanisms or committees or whatever you decide to do to pursue that goal, that's kind of a sub issue associated with that. But that's kind of why it's on the map. People were interested in that discussion. Unfortunately, this isn't that specific. This plan is very broad and just brings up topics that, I guess, not map a course, but just kind of, hey, this is on the radar. This is something of public interest. We're going to move this down the road. Now, how that happens after the plan, that's up to how you implement that. So this is kind of maybe the first step forward, or maybe a look in that direction. How that goes forward, that's all dependent on everything after the plan's approved.
Who implements it?
How that's broken up or decided or goes forward
Is that
through
through
what
the
committee or what
commissioners? Is that
body,
through the
that's a
public,
decision.
or-
Yeah, that's a decision. I think it's gonna have to be made if it moves forward, or how far it moves forward. Just gonna have to figure that out.
And correct me if I'm wrong, basically, this plan is to make us, the county, eligible for the grants and so forth.
Yeah, for grants, yes.
While we're on the
Yeah,
LEAP
just,
well, while we're on the LEAP project, the three of us signed a resolution against it. We have all reached out to our state officials and let them know that the three of us are against it, the county is against it, opposed to us signing that resolution and reaching out to the state officials to let them know we're against it. At the moment, we're on the same boat as you guys. None of us standing here on, I don't know, council side, commissioner side, any council sides for that at all.
That's already a pretty good step in the
Yeah,
right direction.
there's no, yeah.
It's a
go
good
ahead.
step, but the problem is that the state is gonna
Yeah.
wait until after elections before they approve it and let it go through anyway. What's that gonna do to our river? What's it gonna do to the parks we're gonna do? The boat ramp's not gonna be worth anything if there's no river left.
100%.
I mean, what's the point if there's nothing there to protect?
that's the
Yeah.
question.
Karen, you
The
had,
line that it has like investigate, like consider, so can we think about maybe including language possibly that says like, consider review of our natural disaster, like flood and drought response plans, and then like research possible development of water recycling in our county, like as options of looking forward when it does go through, like. what we possibly do.
Karen, what was your question? Go ahead.
Like, if the county as commissioners, if you guys adopt ordinances that are against it necessarily, how would that be affected if the state goes ahead with it?
We don't override the state.
Yeah, we
We
can.
just can voice our opinion to them.
Do what we can.
I mean, if there was a project of that sort that came into our county, I think we would have a lot more opposition, but at the moment, we're just downstream of it, and it's gonna affect all of us. I don't know that anybody in this room, from an official standpoint, could come up with any benefit, locally to anybody in the county, at least that's me speaking. But I just don't see any benefit to it.
There's a lot of organizations from the Wabash River Heritage Corridor Committee. I sit on that. Brenda sits on it. It's all 19 counties that touch the Wabash throughout the state. Tippecanoe County is all over it. So there are a lot of people out there working, and that's why it's been stopped so far.
The governor, for what that's worth, did appoint a new person in charge of that project that had put the brakes to it, but how long that lasts is
But
your guess is as good as ours.
our local state reps took it to try to get it out of committee, and it wouldn't even get out of committee.
I wish that we had some secret birdie giving us answers, and we don't. We hear and see the same thing you guys see. There wasn't even a soul that came to any of us and said, hey, this is even a remote possibility until it was publicized.
They didn't come to Boone County. Commissioners knew nothing about it until most of the land was bought.
Yeah.
And they caught the heat.
With that, I'm gonna turn it over to Rod, who's gonna talk a little bit more and expand on some of the economic development information. Those are good comments and questions. Thank you.
Well, before we do that, at your last commissioners meeting, I never thought you'd be somebody I would consider an ally. But you talked about the World Economic Forum. We're taking these grants, and these grants have strings attached. Those strings may not be realized for years down the road. But when they do come up, there's one conspiracy and it's all connected. The solar is connected, the water, taking the water is connected, because if there's no water, there's no reason for us to live here. Therefore, let's make it a great big solar power plant. So unless we start breaking down this stuff and looking at each individual thing and stop thinking about how much money we can gain and grow this government and think about we, the people, the residents, as the government, we're all in trouble. Because the goal was to move us into a 15-minute city, and you won't be residential. You'll be in town and you're locked down.
So I'd like to address the issue like with this alleged strings with grants, like DNR grants or ready grants for like trail systems and trail networks. I mean, you have minor obligations like match money, commitments to maintain it. They're very minor. So you're really talking about, is it worth your 20%, 25% participation? Or, sometimes it'll creep if you have to have somebody design the project for you. Your participation could be, 30, 40% all in for like a trail project, but strings are minimal to non-existent. There are some permits that you'd have to go through if you were going through floodplain, within the river, but I don't even necessarily know that I'd call them strings, but vast majority of the grant opportunities, of course, if you apply for something and the person giving you money, I mean, even a bank, if you take a loan from somebody, there's strings attached, there's collateral, you have to have certain background information, background data. Yeah, if somebody's going to give you money, there's always something that you have to do to show performance to get that money. So a vast multitude of the grants, and I've done this for 20 years in the public sector, a vast majority of the public grants that I've written, gotten, and received are minor and maybe last for a couple years after you're done with the project. And the only strings you're left with attaching are finding a way to maintain a trail, a boat launch, or something minor like that. Now, when it comes to like large grants, like extremely big transportation grants through federal government, things like that, yeah, there are some strings attached, like you have to monitor performance for like a 5-year period, but that cost on top of what the benefit is usually minimal. So I wouldn't necessarily just say, across the board, there are cumbersome strings that you shouldn't consider for any grant. You just got to look at it on a case-by-case basis and look after the fact. It's like, hey, is this worth it? Are we going to build a trail from A to Z, and we're going to have that trail for the next 100 years, and we're, maybe we're committed to do some things, plant some trees or something for the next 5 of that. So you just got to weigh those on a case-by-case basis.
Do you mind if I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just informed today, we were talking about broadband internet, getting it in this county, stating that there was a deficiency in the east central part of this county. Tippecanoe County has a comprehensive plan, and they were able to go after a grant for $14 million. Excuse me, $14 million. They gave that money to Titmont Wintech, and they're going to build out internet in the deficient areas of Tippecanoe County. So that is one way this program or this plan will allow this county to go after something that can service everybody with no strings attached. So that's just one example.
Right now,
So-
Titmont RMC is going to cover about 70% of our rural county
Yes.
with fiber to the door,
So
better
if
than
we
anybody has in town.
Right, so if we have an opportunity with this plan to go after
The
the
other
additional
30%.
funding, to get the additional 30%, we can cover this entire county with broadband internet, which is a great tool for everybody here in this room.
Because Warren County just did that, didn't it?
Yes, Dale?
Yeah, so just one thing, I do a lot of grant writing. For me, when you get state and federal grants, the beauty of it, it's a return of our tax dollars that we've already paid.
Yeah.
So it's a return investment to ourselves. Right now, those dollars go other places. Your tax dollars go to places who have the comprehensive plans, who are already doing projects. This is a return of tax money to our community.
That
So
we've
it's,
never been able to get.
Yeah, exactly.
well. Yeah, I would add to that, we're working on grants as well for economic development. That's our role, is to help the county progress their goals. And we do not have any grants currently in the works or that we're pursuing that have any strings. So we don't want that either. Usually they are matching grants, and so you have to find funding, or sometimes you can count expenses that have already been paid out towards that match. But I can think of, right now, Ready Grant is the big one that we're all pursuing, and then that's a regional grant that comes through the state. We're working with 7 counties to put in an application, and then hopefully, that money comes back to us. And what that will help us do is incentivize housing, work on childcare. I think those are the 2 that will most benefit from, but there are some other cultural items in there as well.
What kind of housing?
All sorts of housing. So I know there was some concern from some about Section 8 in Petersburg. That was kind of a rumor that went around. We are not pursuing, never will pursue Section 8. I mean, there's a moral reason to do it, but from an economic development point of view, that's just not something we're spending time on. We'll absolutely help community action if they want to do it, because it's a great thing, but we are not pursuing that. We are pursuing single-family homes, of course, starter homes, and we're pursuing apartments, market rate apartments. We're pursuing duplexes and patio condos for people that don't want to maintain their yards and so forth. What we're trying to do is to help the variety, because not everything fits everyone's needs. And as we change our lifestyle, we need those opportunities, and we really, really need to provide for those 20-something people so that they will stay and come and build families and grow. And if you look at the demographics, it's fascinating to kind of track it over time. And it's not any different really than the rest of the state. The difference is we haven't been investing. And so Lafayette's been growing and we've been declining, and we're right next door. And so that's what we're trying to fix. It's not our houses. We're not building houses. The county's not building houses. We're just helping developers find a path, to come in and help. The other thing that was interesting from that study, and if you're interested, let me know afterwards, and I can send you the housing study that we participated in. What was interesting is that we needed 180 houses just to replace houses that were in decline. And so that's a lot of houses to build just to kind of replace the declining ones. And then it projected over the next 10 years, we needed 850 houses just to meet population, keep the population going and to meet the demand. So I know there was some concern in the Petersburg community as well. We just had that last night, so it's fresh in my mind, that we were going to change our rural ways and become a big city. Never. I mean, that's just not going to happen. Go ahead.
I think at Petersburg,
Yeah.
the housing terms of housing subsidies by federal programs can be included in this definition. And then we've heard of Section 9, which.
So
Yes.
I'll eat that one. That was just copied right out of the Ready grant, that the Ready Housing Program. That's from that, just taken directly from that document. That doesn't apply to every community or every county that is in that collar or that participated in that. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to do that. So, that being in there, that's for me, it's a straight copy and paste.
My job was, I worked a government job and I did do business with government subsidized apartments for 20 years. It's not all that great. It's not a good thing.
I'll tell you,
We're not doing that.
No, in any of the stakeholder meetings or any of the discussions we've had previous to this, I mean, that's the only place that appears in the presentation. It's not in the plan. It was never discussed. That type of housing was never discussed as part of the preparation of the comprehensive plan.
When you say Section 9, I can address the Section 9. It's not actually Section 9. There's a program that the state does to incentivize developers. It's called a 9% tax credit program. And what they do is they create tax credits, the financial institutions buy them, and it basically front loads the project so that the developer has money to build. And it incentivizes developers to build in areas where they wouldn't normally. And then the state comes back and requires that they provide rent control for 15 years. And so they have to be working. It basically provides housing for people that earn between $27,000 and $52,000 based on their median income and market rate. And then for 15 years, that stays in place. And at the end of the 15 years, they can turn it into market rate. It's just a way to incentivize people to build in the community. We may look at something like that because we have people that earn those wages and need apartments, but it's not subsidized by the federal government, nor is it Section 8.
With that income, when you open the doors to that, you open the doors to a flood of people that you're gonna get the circumstances where I have witnessed delivering for,
So there's another issue behind that. The function of county government is not to subsidize housing.
No.
The other issue associated with that is if there's any type of apartment complex that's relatively dense or has a high number of people, that complex is gonna have to be close to one of the communities, which means it's under the planning and zoning jurisdiction of the individual community.
Right.
To go in, because it's gonna need water. It's gonna need water to, take care of all the people, but it's gonna need fire suppression for the apartments. It's gonna need a lot of water, and it's gonna need sanitary sewers. It's something like that. I don't even, this is just conjecture, wouldn't even be able to go in the county because it needs those city or
Well,
town
it wouldn't-
services. So
We've done the research. It can't go in anywhere without a zoning variance or a zoning change. So if that were to happen, it will go in front of the Attica Council or the Covington Council or the Petersburg, wherever they're putting it. They would come in and ask for zoning change, and then that's the moment when the community can weigh in.
yes, sir.
No, I was just curious, on this slide 18, we're talking about this subsidized housing. It looks like 10% of the county's living under the poverty line anyway, so that is something that we should be looking into.
It doesn't say subsidized, it says affordable.
No, absolutely, and I mean, I
Well,
completely.
it's sort of a big debate, and we should have it, because I understand what you're saying. There are social challenges that come with some issues. But then there are also people that need housing, and our incomes are here, and the cost of new housing is up here. We're looking at some starter homes in Attica, and the developer's telling us with our assistance, we're getting some grants for them, that it may be a $300,000 home. I mean, that is just something that most people cannot afford. So we've got to kind of balance all of that. And we're not in the social services business, we're in the economic development business. So we want to provide for people that can come and work and contribute to the economy, and certainly young families. I mean, that's really would be very helpful.
There are concerns about the cost of entry-level housing, like new homes for young people all across the state.
but, I mean, the cost of everything is sky high. I had family that are in construction, building houses. Now, when your, I don't know, OSB, whatever, was at $14, $17 a sheet, and then all of a sudden it's $60 to $75 a sheet. There's a bigger problem than just what we're looking at here. It's across the board. All of us are hurting. All of us are feeling it.
Well, hopefully our incomes rise. That's the goal eventually, because it's a real challenge. It's a challenge now, and if we don't do something, it'll get worse. So we're working hard on that. Anything else you need, John?
No, I'm just kind of looking to see where we're at.
We're at the end, John.
Yeah, so we are at the end. Hit the next slide. Questions, comments, we've already done a lot of that. If somebody wants to make a comment and you didn't maybe want to talk, we have pens and comment cards up here, so if you just want to fill something out, you don't have to leave your name. If you have an idea, we had a few people do that last night. Just write it down and leave it over there. If you want to talk about it, feel free to come up and talk afterwards. But thank you for coming tonight. It's important that y'all took some time out of your normal lives to attend something like this and participate. Yes, sir.
I'm just asking this because I'm nosy, but, the county comprehensive plan, is that national? Or is every county in the nation required to do this?
Not nation, but in Indiana,
Just Indiana?
yeah, Indiana, most counties, all counties, most cities, incorporated areas have comprehensive plans.
And then how long ago did this start?
Oh, 70s, 60s and 70s.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's, yes, sir.
What's your next step?
The next steps, go through, take a look at all the comments that we have, possibly engage the stakeholders again, meet with the commissioners again, and kind of plan out. If you look at the comp plan on the back, the very last page, if you go look online, that establishes the next steps. It would go through the consideration and approval process, starting at the planning commission, work its way through the government, legislative and executive branches. After that, once it is considered by the planning commission. So the last page is kind of the last page of the comp plan. That's a good question. It wasn't asked last night, but it is in the document. Just kind of read through, and that's kind of the public process after this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
On the school data, you have the economically disadvantaged. What's the basis on that? Is that below poverty level, or they're eligible for free lunches? or-
That's the lunch data, the free and reduced lunch data is in that, is in one of those columns, countywide. To be honest with you, I didn't do any analytics on that. That's just a data dump. It was in the last comp plan. I didn't even make a comparison between last plan and this plan. We just updated the data.
Because the reason why I ask that is it's very concerning, just not here in Attica, but throughout the whole county. I mean, Attica School District, 53% is classified as economic disadvantage. Covington's at 33%, and Fountain Central's at 48%. And yeah, lastly, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you to Attica City Council for hosting this, the county council and the county commissioners, because as you heard, we've been outdated for some time. And for the longest time, we really didn't do anything. And I know the commissioners, kind of was the tip of the spear. Brenda, I know from me to attending up there in Lafayette, she was there. And then, we bring on Rod, and that's the start. Because we got to be at the table to get it fed, and everybody else is getting it. So thank you guys. I do appreciate it. So
I was gonna say, there's no magical project waiting to be, that's waiting on this plan to go through. It's just really outdated. 2007, there's a lot of stuff that's changed. So these are the formalities you go through to get this updated. There's nothing on the works waiting for this magical thing to get a stamp and then something's gonna happen. That's not it. It just opens the door for future funding or grants or whatever there may be down the road. Hopefully we don't wait for the next 17 years to
Did you
do
say
it.
something about we haven't been available for the grants because
Yeah,
we
we
have a
have,
comprehensive plan?
it's expired.
Yeah.
They're only typically good for,
Why did it expire? Whose position was it to keep us?
I'll be honest with you, I've worked in this industry enough. It's not uncommon to see an outdated one.
Prior
Sometimes-
government officials.
Yeah, turnover government.
I mean, that's just.
Yeah, like
that's just
election
honest. I mean,
turnover.
that is what happened,
And
just died.
some places just have different priorities. It's not just here. I mean, it
No,
just,
it's
no,
everywhere.
no, it's everywhere.
Yep. Yep.
Lexi?
Oh,
In the
yes.
spirit of helping the community open doors, can we infuse a preservation ethic into the plan? Like specifically that phrasing? Because I know we're doing it with Maple Corner building, just adaptive reuse of buildings, somehow infusing that ethic preservation, adaptive reuse kind of language. That would help me kind of get some grant funding from the stakeholders that I work with through the
Yeah, so that,
Oprah, Indiana Landmark.
that's a good point. Lexi, this is not just for the county itself. This plan, although we don't control anything within city limits, it does help them go after things too when the county has an active comprehensive plan. And sometimes they're not benefiting because we are lacking on our end, not having this updated. So yes, I think if there's any specifics like that, Lexi works very detailedly in Attica on a lot of different projects. If there's wording like that that helps Attica itself, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't incorporate something like that in here.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
And just a word of encouragement, so for some reason, I cannot not say what I'm going to say. But many of you heard the name of John Wooden, and the commissioners and councilors tired of hearing me say this, and so are my staff where I work. So John Wooden, who's a Indiana native, college basketball player here, has won the most NCAA championships in basketball at UCLA than anybody else. This is one of his favorite quotes, and so it's kind of what, wherever I go, it's been my megaphone. When opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. And so I would encourage you in all your communities or your township or your organizations that you're in, there's going to be opportunities that come. I see them all the time just going by my desk, and so do the commissioners and the council. Maybe you in your own personal life, but something came across. Son of a gun, if I would have saved $10 more a month for the last 30 years, I could have done X, Y, Z. So I just want to encourage you that there's going to be opportunities that come to our benefit, and others will take advantage of them because they already have the plans in place. So my encouragement is just to continue to be in the planning mode, the fellowship mode, hanging out together mode, criticism mode, feedback mode, attend meetings, send emails, make phone calls, send text messages. I think you'll see a great reward by us doing that.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that. As we work through economic development, it's new to Fountain County, or at least this version of it, and we really do want the feedback. So we're kind of working hard trying to do what we can do, and commissioners are great, the council's great. But it really matters when the community steps up and gets involved and participates, and we'd be happy to welcome you into that conversation. So please reach out.
Last night, real quick, someone mentioned, I might have been you, Bryce, about the emails.
Yes.
You are correct. Some of those did not work, and we found out they're not even the right emails. So I think Brad
fixed it
Brad
today.
is
What was
fixing that,
happening
yes.
is, under some of our names there was a link. And when they clicked on it, it's like the back door old email, it didn't get changed. So that did get changed. So we apologize that we didn't receive any emails from you.
Perfect.
But
I'm glad
that's what
to
happened.
hear it's fixed.
Yeah.
And while we're on the subject, I would like to address the commissioners. Obviously, I've been to a few of these meetings, and there have been some things that I've been critical of. That being said, I don't think that you guys don't have the best intentions of the county in mind. And I think it's important that even if we do have disagreements on how we go about protecting the county in whatever way we see fit, I think that the only way we're going to get it done is together. So I appreciate you guys hosting these meetings and having this transparency.
Yes.
Thank you.
One day I simply on a drive and wanted to go by the area that you were talking about in Portland Arch.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a short strip of Portland Arch that I went through that, I'm 74 years old, and never in my life have I been in a ghetto. But that was that strip there, I felt like I was in a ghetto, and I just wanted to get out of there. I'm honest.
Was it trash? Was it trash on the ground, Phil, or what?
Pardon? Well,
Some of my houses down there, I know where
I don't know what road that is.
Oh, okay.
There's no
Part of Adams Street and
I'm
everything.
gonna assume nobody lives there.
So it's abandoned?
Yeah.
But,
I'll have the health department go through there and look.
well, I don't know, maybe there's already an ordinance to take care of situations.
Yeah, there would be if they're that bad.
Property owners is responsible for cleaning up, and I'm gonna assume they were rented out or whatever, and then people just left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can.
But it's bad.
The head of our health department lives right there in that area. I'll ask her to
Yeah, well,
drive by there.
it might not be as bad as I felt.
Now, you've been down ghetto before you've been down State Fair and Beat Congress.
I don't think. I've got kids.
All right, well, thanks for coming. If you have any specific questions, feel free to come on up.
Hey Dale, I got a quote from Bobby Knight if you'd like.
I didn't mean to scare you.
As long as you
I'm
don't
gonna
throw
shut
your
it
chair,
down.
we're gonna.
It messed up last night when I